pathway to careers in, oh yes, got it, is basically a pathway to careers in national and cybersecurity. Okay, so for anybody who is in this call, if you've ever wanted to be in law enforcement for the intelligence agencies, or if you ever wanted to work for the intelligence agencies as an analyst, or as someone who wants to be a targeting officer or an ops officer, this is definitely the fellowship for you. So we have a few sponsors that we have to thank for the Intelligence Fellowship, right? First, we have the ICCAE Intelligence Community Centers for Academic Excellence. It was established in 2005 after 9/11 to help diversify the intelligence communities, the workforce, right? Because after 9/11, we realized something, that the workforce within the intelligence communities just did not reflect what was happening outside in the real world, the real America, right? So that was the biggest thing for the intelligence communities. That's why the ICCAE program tried to establish different ICCAE schools, and FIU is the only one that is established with curriculum, mentorship, and a professionalization trip in order for you to succeed in the intelligence communities. If Eduardo's on the line, if he could dive into Cyber Florida for just a bit, if he can, Eduardo.
Yes, I apologize. I was having a lot of technical difficulties with my audio. I couldn't really hear anything at the start of the meeting, but thank you everybody for being here. I especially want to do a quick shout out to Christy for
Mhm.
helping Scarlett and I organize this. She's been such a great help in all of
Yes.
this. So I want to quickly touch base with Cyber Florida. So Cyber Florida, they're located in the University of South Florida, and essentially they handle everything that's related to cybersecurity community outreach and research at the state of Florida. And one of the things that we've seen is that cybersecurity is such a growing market, not even in the public sector, but also the private sector. One of the things that, for example, a lot of agencies now are finding difficulties is defending the United States in the cyber realm, right? The digital age, although it's such a great avenues, for example, in terms of communication, just the fact that we're all here on Zoom, it's opened a lot of doors, right? That agencies are struggling to close. So that's where programs like this come into play, right? One of the things that we offer, and what we can dive into that later, is certifications for CompTIA. So CompTIA is one of the leading industry certifications in terms of cybersecurity and IT. And we offer them, we sponsor our students, which is a phenomenal thing, because in a program like this, not only are you getting the technical background that you would normally get with your classes and your degree, you're also getting that hands-on experience.
So I'll go ahead and dive into some of the agencies that our fellows have landed in. And obviously, we have 18 agencies in total. If you know the whole alphabet soup, there's CIA, FBI, DEA, DIA, NRO, NGA, NSA, NCTC, and quite a other few to list, right? So the 18 agencies, many of our fellows have landed in, right? Mainly, I think it's 16 that we've landed in thus far, but we make up in, for example, for Southern Command, we make up 20% of their workforce. So that's where most of our fellows have landed in terms of careers. So if you've ever wanted to work for any of these agencies in any shape or form or capacity, then once again, the Intelligence Fellowship is for you. The next slide, we will be going over the cybersecurity workforce gap. So that, once again, is my dear friend, Eduardo Caldera. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Thanks, Scarlett. So here is a quick diagram that we get from CyberSeek. So CyberSeek, it's a phenomenal source that essentially shows a heat map going on here in the state of Florida. And one of the things that we've seen is that there are over approximately almost 40,000 different job openings in cybersecurity. And that really goes to show how fast this market is growing. If you can see, for example, the little statistic at the 65%, essentially what that's telling us that we are at a 65% national average, where we're only meeting 65% of the workforce demand, right? And if we go on to the next slide, we actually can see how it goes across the entire country. We're with over 770,000 different jobs approximately. So the state of Florida is relatively at the same level at the national level with that 65% national average. But really one of the things that we're always looking for is getting students to enter this workforce, for example, right? And that goes into either the realm of the IC with NSA and CISA or going into the private sector. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Eduardo, so much for covering that. So you guys are probably dying to wonder, what does the Intelligence Fellowship look like at a glance? This is it. I'm going to go one by each of these beautiful bubbles that was created by our marketing team. It is a 3-semester commitment, summer B, fall, and spring, right? So if you do apply for this semester, this cohort that's coming up for cohort 8, because it's been existing for about 8 years now, which is crazy. If you do apply, you will be starting summer B. So that's about July of this year. And you would be starting with a cohort of about 60 individuals. All right. You would be taking specialized courses and professional workshops. The specialized courses I will go over in depth later. And I'll go ahead and skip the IT industry part because that once again is Eduardo. So I'll just leave that part to him towards the end. The professional mentorship from IC professionals and cybersecurity experts. So once again, you get one-on-one mentorship with IC professionals, and I'll go over into that much more in depth later with our stakeholders, right? Which we do have to add one more to this slide that I will tell you about. It's a secret of who we partner with. We do intelligence-based research opportunities with those stakeholders. So for example, let's say if CIA chooses about 10 of our students every year to mentor, right? You would be doing this intelligence-based research opportunity through summer B, fall, and spring. And that leads into the spring break career professionalization trip to Washington, D.C., right? So once you're done with your intelligence-based research opportunity with an agency, you get to brief at that agency. So not a lot of people can say, hey, I briefed at Langley at CIA, right? Our students, actually 8 of them, had the opportunity to brief at Langley this past week during spring break. So unfortunately, if you are joining the program, you do miss out on spring break, but that's okay because you could possibly get a job or internship. Isn't that a great payoff? All right, moving on. You get intelligence community and cybersecurity industry networking events. So this networking event is huge. You connect with our alum, you connect with individuals that are currently working in the IC professionally. You get to see hiring managers, etc. at these networking events, and they can give you the best practices moving forward. And you have access to exclusive internship and employment opportunities. For example, the students that actually went to the spring break career professionalization trip last week, they got an exclusive hiring blitz offer from NGA. I'm going to say that again. They got an exclusive hiring blitz offer to the whole program, just our program, to apply to NGA. Isn't that incredible? All right, I'm going to hand it over to Eduardo, and he'll go over the IT industry certifications. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Thank you, Scarlett. So very quickly about the IT certifications, really what we're offering students, for example, is CompTIA A+ and Security Plus. So A+, quick and summary, it's everything that was related to device management, right? Everything that helps the computer essentially run. What you're looking at, for example, the graphics card, the display driver, central processing unit, motherboard. It's going to be a little bit more IT focused, and then CompTIA Security Plus is going to go into the coding side a little bit more, right? And you're going to be looking at, for example, IoT mobile security networks, how that works, how that functions, right? Any frameworks that you can help implement for cybersecurity. That's what these certifications are really looking into. And on the private sector side, for example, going into the networking event, one of the things that we're actually doing now is actually bringing in different partners that are working outside of the IC, right? One of them that we can say is the Idaho National Laboratory. So they're a research R&D house, for example, that is funded by the US Department of Energy. And they go alongside with research in nuclear energy, but now they're also looking for cybersecurity as well. So we actually brought them down here and they did a roundtable with all of our cybersecurity students, right? And that's something that we're really looking forward into establishing a pipeline with them, with actually sending students over there. So it's very exciting. So that covers, for example, the certifications and really one of the things that you'll be looking to the networking side for cybersecurity.
So I'll be covering the National Security Study Certificate that you could gain from being in the analysis track. And Eduardo will tell you about the Cyber Threat Intelligence Certificate, I believe. All right, so I'm going to go over specialized curriculum. So if anybody is really interested in being in the analysis track, this is your time to screenshot. Okay, my bad, there's stuff coming up. Okay. Oh, no. I don't know why this is coming up. All right, excellent. So the National Security Studies Certificate, specialized curriculum. So you would be taking INR 3133, Intelligence and National Security, which is basically writing for intelligence, and ISS 3214, Foundations of Globalization, Open Source Intelligence Exploitation. So INR 3133, and Christy can also jump in on this if she'd like to, is taught by one of the hardest professors ever, Zan Isaacson. She is currently a DoD officer, and she will teach you how to write intelligence notes. Intelligence is very different from writing in academia. Intelligence is basically you'll have about 350 words or 400 words max to get your point across. It's bottom line up front, right? And as easy as that sounds, it's actually kind of difficult because you have to make it matter to the United States. Why should the United States care about a current event or something that's happening in a different country, right? So that's what it is that she teaches you. ISS 3214, which is Foundations of Globalization, is taught by an open source intelligence officer. Her name is Dr. Q. I can't say her whole name, Dr. Kinkosis. And she basically, what she does is she teaches you how to analyze open source. What is open source, right? It's basically gathering intelligence on the World Wide Web. Nowadays, we can find intelligence now in the World Wide Web. We don't need to gather all of that top secret information, have super first-hand primary sources. That's necessary, of course, but open source is the new world. So she teaches you how to navigate what's true and what's fact, what's misinformation and disinformation. INR 3134, Writing for Intelligence and National Security, is basically writing how to do a presidential daily brief, how to write intelligence assessments, right? Those are very different from intelligence writing, right? So that's specific instructions on what it is that you need to learn and what you need to deliver, right? So your whole product as a whole, right? And then introduction to structured analytic techniques. This man who teaches it, his name is Professor Mooney. He pioneered structured analytic methods in the IC. So you're getting the best of the best here. And then you have ISS 3222, sorry, so many twos. Issues of foreign policy, history of intelligence. Of course, if you're going into the intelligence communities, you need to know about the history of intelligence. This is taught by Professor Atwood. He's the historian of the Miami Military Museum. And finally, ISS 3940 is that professionalization trip to Washington, D.C. Everyone has to brief. It's a mandatory thing in the fellowship that you have to brief and deliver a product at the end of the semester, of your spring semester. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Eduardo, who will be talking about the Cybersecurity, Intelligence, and Information Policy Certificate.
Thank you, Scarlett. So you'll find, for example, in the cybersecurity side that a lot of the courses are actually shared between both tracks. The only differentiation is the more cyber side, really. So really on some of the classes that you're looking to, for example, Intro to Cyber Operations and Cyber Threat Intelligence 1 and 2. And one of the things that I always see students taken aback is that when they see cybersecurity, they think, oh, this has a lot of technical side, right? That I haven't really have a good foundation of. And the reality is that yes, does incorporate, for example, coding and then analyzing statistics and data for cybersecurity, but it's going to be more on the analysis side for cybersecurity, right? The CompTIA certifications, those help you flesh out the IT and essentially the material that you'll be looking at, but a lot of it is going to be dealing with intelligence analysis on the cybersecurity side. And if I could add on to what you'll be looking at in both tracks are taught by IC veterans, right? Essentially, these individuals, they have decades of experience within the IC. So you'll be learning from practitioners, right? Which is very different as opposed to learning from theorists. Not that there's anything wrong with learning from theorists, it's just going to be a different experience, right? And even, for example, going into writing within the intelligence agency, you'll find that writing for the IC is very different as opposed to writing for academia, right? It's going to be a little bit challenging, not in the aspect that you would normally expect with you have to write, you would have to read half a dozen books and then write a research topic on that, right? It's going to be challenging in the sense that it's going to essentially teach you how to write differently, right? It's going to teach you how to think differently, analytically. That goes into the cybersecurity and the analysis track. The good thing about this is that we work alongside your academic advisors to make sure that A, you're not going over your credit hours, and B, that you're going to graduate on time, because that's something that we want to avoid, right? Certificates like this, they help not only flesh out a program like this is helping you flesh out your professional development with the IC trip, with the networking, the practitioner roundtables, but it's also helping you flesh out your academic side, right? Your academic portfolio. Instead of taking, for example, electives and upper division courses and 3,000, 4,000 levels that you nor are only taking because you have to satisfy your degree, certificates like this help you be more specialized in different areas of your interests. It's a great thing about a program like this.
All right, we're getting to research, and I'm seeing some comments come up. Oh, yes, Panther ID. Okay, so now we have research. Excitement. This is where I announce our stakeholders, and there is one missing, so I will go ahead and include them. So here are our stakeholders. Boom. We have Central Intelligence Agency, the National Counterterrorism Center, FIU Security Research Hub, which is in partnership with OSAC, the Diplomatic Security Service Public-Private Partnership. Okay, so I'll go over each of them. Now, the one that's missing on here is FBI. Wow. Yeah, we just added FBI to our research portfolio, and we have to congratulate and give kudos to those that went to the spring trip this past week because they nailed it. They nailed it so well that FBI got super jealous of CIA and NCTC for even having some mentors, right? So FBI chooses 10 fellows now moving on every year. Central Intelligence Agency has been choosing our fellows every year, 10 as well. National Counterterrorism Center chooses 5. Okay, so your research question obviously has to be catered to each agency. Central Intelligence Agency obviously has to be international focus, right? National Counterterrorism Center has to do with terrorist organizations, whereas FBI is more a domestic question. Yes, you can cater your question to whichever agency you most are interested in applying to. Now, in order for you to get into any of these program stakeholders mentor-mentee program, you have to have a one-on-one interview with them in our office, which we set up with them, okay? Sometimes, and we can't reveal how many students, sometimes the individuals that they interview, they extend an actual invite for an interview with their agency for a job or an internship opportunity, okay? Now, if you don't land in any of these program stakeholders, no worries. We have FIU Security Research Hub with OSAC LARC. Now, OSAC is overall contracts with agencies, right? So we're talking all 18, right? So there's the possibility to brief to all 18 agencies when you're doing the spring break trip. Most of those that were in SRH actually briefed to all 18 agencies. So that's the really cool thing about being in SRH or in any of these programs, right? So if you do get chosen by CIA, you'll be briefing at Langley, NCTC, you'll briefing at the LX Center, and if you're chosen by FBI, the Howard Center, okay? All right, let's go over program requirements, okay? This is the big one. You have to be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. resident. A U.S. citizen for the ICCAE Intelligence Fellowship Program, but if you are interested in doing Cyber Florida and you're just a U.S. resident, that is okay. So you have to be interested in cyber and you have to make it apparent and well known when you submit your personal statement, okay? Applicants for, and that's also another bullet, applicants for the USG Intelligence Community Opportunities must be U.S. citizens. All academic majors are welcome. I don't care if you have an environmental science major or a higher education major, all academic majors are welcome. We can make something work, right? You have to have at least completed 30 university credit hours by summer B. You have to be willing to commit a flexible 15 to 20 hours weekly for the program. Now, I'm going to highlight flexible because 15 to 20 hours is a lot, right? Sometimes we're going to ask you to come to more events. For example, if CIA and NCTC and FBI are trying to interview people all in 1 week, That's tough. That's about 20 hours that you're going to dedicate to the events, interviewing with them, prepping for the interview, and also getting your resume and cover letter looked at by me or Eduardo, right? So that takes up about 20 hours. But let's say, for example, the following week, we're going to have you guys wind down a little bit. It's probably going to be 5-10 hours just working on the actual coursework that you have to work on, okay? Or just future research material. Obviously, winding up to the actual spring break trip, you're going to be even more overwhelmed. So expect to work those 20 hours in, right? Willing to commit those 20 hours to your research, okay? I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. And now finally, I'm going to go over the application process. All right, this is a huge one. And if Eduardo, could you drop the application, a link in the chat box below? Thank you. So the application process, this is how it works. Fill out the application form on the Gordon Institute website, which will be dropped in the link below. Select your preferred track, either analysis or cyber threat intelligence. Upload the following documents: an updated resume, a personal statement. And mind you, when I say a personal statement, I want to know why it is that you want to be in the intelligence agencies. Why do you want us, right? Make it seem in a way where you're catering the letter towards, hey, this is my passion. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? I'm not just going to let anybody in. You can upload your unofficial transcripts. We don't need official transcripts from FIU because we understand that's costly. You need a writing sample of national security, okay? So your writing sample of national security has to look something like a research topic and a region, possibly something that you'll be working on for the rest of the semester if chosen. Now, this one's important, this next bullet. You have to have either a letter of recommendation or 3 references. Once again, a letter of recommendation or 3 references. If you're not able to get a letter of recommendation in on time, you need to have 3 references, okay? Now the priority consideration deadline has passed, but now we are advertising for the final deadline, which is April 1st. So everybody write it down. April 1st. That's the final deadline. So that's about it for our presentation. I'm glad that you all stayed through all of this. Now, I'm going to have like a little Q&A part because I want to be able to give you guys something exclusive. So me and Eduardo have talked about this, about giving away some freebies, okay? So I'm going to ask a few questions. You just got to unmute yourself or raise your hand. Whoever I see raise their hand first. I will say, I'm going to select on you, and I'm going to ask you a question from something that we had on the slides, okay? So question 1. If you submit a letter of rec, do you need to submit 3 references?
No.
Correct. And you get a CIA pen. Just stop by the Labor Center. Okay. So she got it. She got a CIA pen. The next one's for a lunchbox from DIA. Okay. Who's ready for the lunchbox question? I see you, Mariana. I see you. How you doing? All right. So the next one's for a DIA. Who are our 3 agency stakeholders? It's a DIA box. This is a big one. Who are our 3 program stakeholders? I'm going to leave SRH aside. Who are our 3 agency stakeholders? If you could get all 3. All right, Mariana, go ahead.
DEA.
Mm-hmm.
Department of State. FBI.
Okay. You got FBI right. Unfortunately, the other 2 you didn't get right. I'm talking about the research component. You got close though. Close to no cigar. Do you know the I'm going to give you another chance cuz you said FBI. So what's the other 2?
FBI, USAID.
Nah, lo cagaste.
It's okay.
So, all right, another one. Who else?
Is it FBI, CIA, and something Florida?
No. Close but no cigar. So it's FBI, CIA, and one more. Come on, guys. I know you online and you listen in. Just one more.
Starts with an N.
It does start. It starts with an N. Melissa, I saw that you put NSA. That's not it. The research one. This is for a DIA lunchbox. It's insulated. Those are the 2 I knew too. That's okay. You know, I'm glad that you guys were listening. That's fine. So the last one was NCTC, the National Counterterrorism Center. Ah, no,